My child, before you do anything else, stop for just a moment and listen carefully. Do not scroll away. Do not tell yourself that you will come back later. Do not assume this is just another message among thousands of others competing for your attention today. This moment is different. There is a reason you are here right now, hearing these words at this exact time. You may think you stumbled across this message by chance. You may believe it appeared randomly on your screen while you were looking for something else. But I tell you the truth, this is not an accident. You were meant to hear this. Out of all the videos you could have watched, out of all the voices you could have listened to, out of all the places your attention could have gone, you are here, and that matters. My child, I have been watching you. I have seen the questions you carry in your heart. I have seen the moments when you wondered whether your prayers were reaching heaven. I have seen the silent disappointments that you never shared with anyone. I have seen the weight you have been carrying while trying to remain strong for everyone around you. And I know something that you do not yet know. Something has been happening behind the scenes of your life, even while you believed nothing was changing. Even while you thought your situation was standing still. Even while you questioned whether anything would ever be different. I have been working. That is why I need your attention now. This is not the time to become distracted. This is not the moment to allow doubt to pull you away. There is something I need you to understand before this day ends, and if you truly hear what I am saying, it will change the way you see everything that has happened in your life. My child, many times you have asked me why certain doors closed. You asked why opportunities disappeared. You asked why some people walked away. You asked why your waiting season seemed to last so much longer than expected. You have carried those questions for a long time. But what if I told you that the answers are closer than you think? What if I told you that there was a purpose hidden inside every delay? What if I told you that what looked like silence was never silence at all? Stay with me. Do not leave this message yet, because before this message ends, I am going to reveal something that will help you understand why your season unfolded the way it did. There is a reason your story has not followed the path you expected. There is a reason certain prayers were not answered immediately. There is a reason you are still standing after everything you have been through. And when you understand that reason, you will begin to see your life differently. My beloved child, I know there were moments when you felt forgotten, moments when you looked around and saw other people moving forward while you remained in the same place, moments when you wondered if I had overlooked you, moments when you questioned whether your breakthrough would ever come. But hear me clearly. You have not been forgotten. You have not been abandoned. You have not been overlooked. In fact, you are much closer to your answer than you realize. Something is shifting. Even now, as you listen, things are moving that you cannot yet see. Paths are being prepared. Obstacles are being removed. Pieces are coming together. You may not recognize it yet, but the season you are entering is not the same season you have been living in. A change is already beginning. That is why this message found you today. Not yesterday, not next week, today. Because heaven's timing is precise. And there is something I need to show you before you take your next step. In a moment, I am going to explain why the tears you cried were not wasted, why the waiting was not meaningless, and why what felt like a setback may actually become one of the greatest blessings of your life. But first, you need to know one thing. I saw every moment. I saw every tear. I saw every prayer. And I never stopped working on your behalf. My child, there is something I need you to understand before we go any further. Nothing you have been through has escaped my notice. Not one tear, not one prayer, not one moment of heartbreak. I saw it all. I saw the nights when your body was exhausted, but your mind refused to rest. The house was quiet. The lights were off. Everyone else seemed to be asleep. Yet there you were, staring into the darkness, carrying thoughts too heavy to put into words. You tried to be strong. You tried to convince yourself that tomorrow would feel different. But deep inside you were hurting. And I saw it. I saw the moments when you smiled in front of others while carrying pain they never knew existed. I saw the conversations where you said, "I'm okay," even when you were far from okay. I saw the courage it took just to make it through another day when your heart felt weary. Many people saw your face, but I saw your soul. Many people heard your words, but I heard the cries hidden behind those words. Many people noticed your strength, but I noticed your struggle. My child, there were moments when you felt completely alone. You sat in crowded rooms and still felt invisible. You surrounded yourself with people and still felt disconnected. You longed for someone to understand what you were carrying, yet you couldn't find the words to explain it. The loneliness became familiar. The silence became heavy, and sometimes you wondered if anyone truly saw you. But I did. I always did. I was there when disappointment knocked on your door again and again. I was there when opportunities disappeared. I was there when promises were broken. I was there when people walked away without understanding the damage they left behind. I know how deeply betrayal wounded you. I know how difficult it became to trust after being hurt. I know how many times you replayed conversations in your mind, wondering what you could have done differently. You blamed yourself for things that were never your fault. You carried burdens that were never yours to carry. And still, you kept moving forward. Even when you felt weak, even when you felt discouraged, even when you felt forgotten, you kept going. Do you know how many times you almost gave up? I do. I know about the moments nobody else knows about. The moments when discouragement whispered that nothing would ever change. The moments when fear told you that your future would look exactly like your past. The moments when you questioned whether your prayers were making any difference at all. You may have felt abandoned, but you were never abandoned. You may have felt unseen, but you were never unseen. You may have felt forgotten, but you were never forgotten. My child, I heard the prayers that never made it past your lips. The prayers spoken through tears. The prayers spoken through silence. The prayers spoken through exhaustion. Sometimes all you could do was sigh. Sometimes all you could do was sit quietly and wonder if I was listening. I was listening, every single time. Not once did your voice fail to reach me. Not once did your pain go unnoticed. Not once did I turn away. I know there were days when you compared your life to others. You watched people move ahead. You watched doors open for them. You watched blessings arrive in their lives while you remained in a season of waiting. And deep down you wondered why. Why them and not me? Why now and not later? Why does it seem like everyone else is moving forward while I remain stuck? Those questions weighed heavily on your heart. But even while you were asking those questions, something important was happening that you could not see. I need you to hear this clearly. Your value has never been determined by your circumstances. Your worth has never been determined by your achievements. Your future has never been determined by your current season. The world may measure people by success. I measure them by faithfulness. And through every difficult season, through every disappointment, through every unanswered question, you kept holding on. Sometimes barely, sometimes weakly, sometimes with trembling hands. But you held on, and that matters more than you realize. My beloved child, the tears you cried were not wasted. The lonely nights were not meaningless. The waiting was not pointless. The heartbreak was not without purpose. Even when it felt like nothing was happening, I was accomplishing things beneath the surface that you could not yet understand. Because while you believed you were simply surviving, I was preparing you. While you believed you were being delayed, I was strengthening you. While you believed you were being overlooked, I was positioning you. And that is what I need to explain next. Because the waiting season that frustrated you so deeply had a purpose greater than you can currently see. The silence was not punishment. The delay was not rejection. In fact, what felt like a setback may have been one of the greatest acts of protection I ever gave you. And in the next part, I am going to reveal the real reason I allowed you to wait. My child, now I want to reveal something that may change the way you view every difficult season you have ever endured. For so long, you have looked back on certain chapters of your life and called them delays. You called them setbacks. You called them disappointments. You called them closed doors. You called them unanswered prayers. And because you saw them through the eyes of pain, you assumed they were evidence that something had gone wrong. But what if I told you that many of the things you called delays were actually preparation? What if I told you that what felt like rejection was often protection? What if I told you that what looked like silence was actually one of the busiest seasons of my work in your life? My child, you see your life one day at a time. I see the entire journey. You see the current chapter. I see the entire story. There were moments when you begged me to move faster. You pleaded for immediate answers. You asked me to open doors right away. You wanted relief from the waiting, and I understood your pain. But if I had given you everything you requested the moment you asked for it, you would not have been ready to carry it. Many people ask for blessings. Few understand the preparation required to sustain them. You wanted the fruit. I was growing the roots. You wanted the harvest. I was preparing the soil. You wanted the destination. I was building the strength needed for the journey. My child, consider the tree. The day a seed is planted, nothing seems to happen. Days pass, weeks pass, sometimes even longer. To the human eye, it appears as though the seed has been forgotten. But beneath the surface, roots are growing. Strength is forming. Preparation is happening. The most important work takes place before anyone can see it. And so it has been with your life. While you thought nothing was happening, roots were growing. While you thought heaven was silent, strength was forming. While you thought you were stuck, preparation was taking place. I know there were times when you compared yourself to others. You saw people receiving opportunities that you desired. You saw doors opening for them. You saw their progress and wondered why your life seemed slower. But comparison only shows part of the picture. You do not know what burdens others carry. You do not know what preparation they still need. And you do not know the specific calling I have placed upon your life. Your path was never meant to look exactly like anyone else's. My child, remember Joseph. He dreamed of leadership long before he ever experienced it. But before the palace came the pit. Before influence came betrayal. Before promotion came imprisonment. Those seasons were painful. Those seasons felt unfair. Yet every delay was preparing him for the responsibility he would one day carry. Remember David. He was anointed as king, yet years passed before he sat on the throne. There were seasons of hiding, seasons of uncertainty, seasons when the promise seemed distant. But those years were not wasted. They were shaping his character. They were teaching dependence, courage, and wisdom. Remember Moses. He spent years in the wilderness before stepping into the assignment I had prepared for him. What appeared to be delay was actually training. What appeared to be waiting was preparation. And my child, the same has been true for you. There were lessons you needed to learn. There was strength you needed to develop. There was wisdom you needed to gain. Not because I wanted to withhold blessings from you, but because I wanted you to be able to carry those blessings without being destroyed by them. Some doors remained closed because what was behind them was not yet right for you. Some opportunities disappeared because they would have taken you away from your purpose. Some relationships ended because they could not go where I was leading you. You saw loss. I saw protection. You saw disappointment. I saw redirection. You saw delay. I saw preparation. My beloved child, there were moments when you questioned whether I had forgotten my promises, but I never forgot. Not once. Every promise remained exactly where I placed it. The difference was timing. Timing matters more than you realize. A blessing received too early can become a burden. A responsibility received too soon can become overwhelming. A door opened before you are prepared can lead to regret instead of joy. That is why I refused to rush the process. I was not ignoring your prayers. I was answering them in a deeper way. I was preparing you for something greater than you could currently imagine. And now, as you look back, you can begin to see evidence of my hand. The strength you gained, the wisdom you developed, the resilience you discovered, the faith that grew through the waiting. Those things were not accidents. They were part of the preparation. My child, I know the waiting felt long. I know there were days when you wondered if anything would ever change. But hear me carefully now. The waiting season was never your final destination. It was only a classroom. It was only a training ground. It was only preparation for what comes next. And there is something even more important that you need to understand. The delays in your life were not only preparing you, they were also protecting you from battles you could not see. Because behind the scenes there were obstacles being removed, dangers being avoided, and paths being redirected. You thought you were waiting, but in reality, I was fighting for you. And in the next part, I am going to reveal the battle that was taking place behind the scenes of your life all along. My child, there is something I need you to understand about the seasons that confused you the most. You believed you were simply waiting. You believed nothing was happening. You believed your life had been placed on hold while everyone else continued moving forward. But what if I told you that while you were focused on what you could see, there was an unseen battle taking place on your behalf? What if I told you that many of the delays you resented were actually moments when I was protecting you from dangers you never knew existed? My child, not every closed door was a loss. Not every disappointment was a defeat. Not every ending was a tragedy. Some of those moments were acts of protection. Some of those moments were acts of mercy. Some of those moments were my hand preventing you from walking into something that would have wounded you far more deeply than you can imagine. You saw a door close. I saw a disaster ahead. You saw rejection. I saw redirection. You saw an interruption. I saw preservation. How many times have you looked back and wondered why something did not work out? Why that opportunity disappeared? Why that relationship ended? Why that plan failed? At the time, it felt painful. At the time, it felt unfair. At the time, it felt like you were losing something valuable. But now, if you look closely, can you see how some of those disappointments actually spared you from greater pain? Can you see how certain paths would have taken you far away from the future I prepared for you? My child, there are battles that happen beyond your awareness. There are circumstances being arranged. There are obstacles being removed. There are dangers being blocked. There are assignments of destruction that never reached you, because I stood between you and them. Many times you asked, why is this happening to me? When perhaps the better question was, what has God already protected me from? Because there are countless things you never saw. You never saw the wrong opportunities that almost trapped you. You never saw the harmful influences that nearly entered your life. You never saw the situations that could have stolen your peace, your purpose, or your future. But I saw them. And because I saw them, I acted. My child, there were people you desperately wanted to stay. You prayed for certain relationships to survive. You begged for reconciliation. You fought to keep connections alive. And when those relationships ended, your heart broke. You thought you were losing something essential. But sometimes what leaves your life is not a punishment. Sometimes it is protection. Not everyone assigned themselves a permanent place in your story. Some people were only meant for a season. Some were lessons. Some were warnings. Some were preparation. And some had to leave because they could not go where I was taking you. You saw abandonment. I saw alignment. You saw heartbreak. I saw freedom. You saw an ending. I saw a beginning. My beloved child, there were also battles taking place within you. The greatest battles are not always external. Sometimes they happen in the heart. Sometimes they happen in the mind. Sometimes they happen in the hidden places nobody else can see. The battle between faith and fear. The battle between hope and discouragement. The battle between trust and doubt. There were moments when fear whispered that nothing would ever change. There were moments when discouragement told you to stop believing. There were moments when disappointment tried to convince you that your best days were behind you. Yet somehow, despite everything, you continued moving forward. Perhaps slowly, perhaps imperfectly, but you continued. And that matters more than you know, because every time you chose to keep going, even when you felt weak, you were winning battles that could not be measured by human eyes. Every prayer was a victory. Every act of faith was a victory. Every decision not to quit was a victory. Every time you got up after being knocked down was a victory. You thought you were merely surviving, but you were overcoming, my child. There were seasons when I appeared silent because the battle required patience. There were seasons when answers seemed delayed because the process required time. There were seasons when I protected you by withholding what you wanted. I know that is difficult to understand, but protection does not always feel comfortable. Sometimes protection feels like waiting. Sometimes protection feels like disappointment. Sometimes protection feels like uncertainty. Yet later, when the full picture becomes visible, you realize that what felt painful was actually necessary. My beloved, the battle that surrounded your life was never stronger than my power. The obstacles were real. The difficulties were real. The heartbreak was real. But my presence was real too. I was never absent. I was never distant. I was never unaware. I was working in ways you could not see, fighting battles you could not fight, blocking attacks you could not recognize, creating paths you could not yet imagine. And now, something important is happening. The season of constant struggle is beginning to shift. The season of confusion is beginning to break. The season of wondering whether anything is changing is coming to an end, because what I have been preparing behind the scenes is finally beginning to move into view. The protection accomplished its purpose. The preparation accomplished its purpose. The hidden battle is nearing its conclusion. And what comes next is the very thing you have been praying for through all those long seasons of waiting. Because while you thought you were standing still, I was positioning you for a shift. And in the next part, I am going to reveal why that shift has already begun. My beloved child, before we continue, I want you to pause for a moment and reflect on everything you have heard so far. If this message is speaking directly to your heart, if you recognize yourself in these words, and if you believe that God has been carrying you through seasons you did not fully understand, then take a moment right now and write, "I trust your timing, Lord." Let that declaration be more than a comment. Let it be a prayer. Let it be a statement of faith. Because sometimes the greatest breakthrough begins when you stop fighting the process and start trusting the one who is leading you through it. And if this message has encouraged you, consider sharing it with someone who may be struggling through a season of waiting, disappointment, or uncertainty. You never know whose heart may need this reminder today. Now stay with me, because what God is about to reveal next may be exactly the answer you have been praying for. My child, listen closely now, because what I am about to tell you is something your heart has been waiting to hear for a very long time. The shift you have been praying for is not merely coming, it has already begun. I know that may be difficult for you to believe because your eyes are still looking at circumstances that seem unchanged. You may still see challenges. You may still see unanswered questions. You may still see situations that appear exactly as they did yesterday. But I am asking you not to judge your future by what you see in this moment. Many of the greatest changes begin long before they become visible. A sunrise starts before the first light reaches the horizon. A harvest begins before the first fruit appears. A breakthrough begins before the evidence can be seen. And the same is true for your life. Even now, while you are listening to these words, things are moving. Doors are being prepared. Conversations are taking place. Opportunities are being aligned. Paths are being cleared. What looks like stillness is not stillness at all. What feels like waiting is not waiting at all. Heaven has been moving on your behalf. My child, there are blessings that have your name on them. There are answers that have been traveling toward you. There are moments I have already arranged that will make sense of seasons that once confused you. You asked why certain things had to happen. Soon you will understand. You asked why the road felt so long. Soon you will understand. You asked why I allowed you to wait. Soon you will understand. The pieces are beginning to come together, not by accident, not by luck, not by coincidence, but by divine timing. I know there were days when you believed your best opportunities had already passed. You thought you had missed your chance. You thought you were too late. You thought others had moved ahead while you were left behind. But hear me clearly, my child. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not late. You are exactly where you need to be for what I am about to do. The enemy wanted you to believe that delay meant defeat, but delay was never defeat. Delay was preparation, and preparation is now giving way to fulfillment. The season is changing. Can you feel it? There is a stirring inside your spirit, a growing expectation, a quiet sense that something is different. That feeling is not your imagination. That feeling is not wishful thinking. It is the evidence that I am preparing your heart for what is next. Because before a door opens externally, faith begins to rise internally. Before circumstances change around you, something changes within you. And I have been preparing both. My beloved child, there are blessings that require you to become someone stronger before you receive them. There are opportunities that require greater wisdom. There are assignments that require deeper faith. That is why the process mattered. That is why the waiting mattered. That is why the preparation mattered. But now I need you to stop looking backward. Stop measuring your future by your past disappointments. Stop assuming tomorrow will look like yesterday. The old season is ending. A new season is emerging. You may not see the entire picture yet, but the first pieces are already moving into place. You will begin noticing things that seem small at first. A new sense of peace. Unexpected clarity. A conversation that opens a door. An opportunity you did not anticipate. A burden that suddenly feels lighter. Do not dismiss these moments. Pay attention, because often the greatest shifts begin with the smallest signs. My child, I want you to expect good things again. Not because life is perfect. Not because challenges disappear overnight. But because I am still working. I have always been working, and what I started, I will finish. The promises I spoke over your life have not expired. The purpose I placed within you has not disappeared. The future I prepared for you has not been canceled. It is still there, waiting for the appointed moment. And that moment is drawing closer than you realize. Even now, while you listen, doors are being positioned. People are being aligned. Resources are being prepared. Answers are moving. The shift has already begun. Do not allow fear to convince you otherwise. Do not allow disappointment to blind you to what is happening. Do not allow past failures to define future possibilities. Lift your eyes. Raise your expectations. Strengthen your faith, because you are not standing at the end of your story. You are standing at the beginning of a new chapter. And yet, before you step fully into what I have prepared, there is one thing you must understand. There are old habits, old fears, and old mindsets that cannot follow you into this next season. There is something that has the power to delay what I am doing if you continue holding on to it. And in the next part, I am going to show you exactly what you must leave behind so you do not sabotage the very breakthrough you have been praying for. My child, as you stand on the edge of a new season, there is something important I need you to understand. Not every obstacle comes from outside of you. Sometimes the greatest obstacle is the one you continue carrying within you. I have been preparing you. I have been strengthening you. I have been positioning you. But now I need you to release the things that no longer belong in the next chapter of your life, because there are old burdens that cannot travel where I am taking you. There are old mindsets that cannot survive in the season ahead. There are old wounds that must finally be surrendered. My child, do not sabotage your miracle by holding on to what I am asking you to leave behind. The first thing you must release is fear. Fear has been speaking to you for a long time. Fear tells you that nothing will change. Fear tells you that disappointment will happen again. Fear reminds you of every failure, every rejection, and every painful memory. Fear wants you to expect the worst. Fear wants you to stay where things feel familiar. Fear wants you to remain trapped in old seasons. But fear is not your future. I did not create you to live under the control of fear. I created you to walk by faith. Faith does not mean you have all the answers. Faith means trusting me even when you do not. Faith means moving forward even when the entire path is not visible. Faith means believing that I am working even when circumstances appear unchanged. My child, if you keep listening to fear, you may miss the opportunities I place before you, not because the opportunity was absent, but because fear convinced you not to step forward. That is why you must release it. Leave fear behind. Do not carry it into your next season. The second thing you must release is doubt. Doubt often enters quietly. It whispers questions. It plants uncertainty. It tells you that your prayers will never be answered. It tells you that your breakthrough is for someone else. It tells you that your situation is too difficult to change. Little by little, doubt tries to weaken your expectation. But I want you to remember something. How many times have I carried you already? How many times have I made a way when there seemed to be no way? How many times have I provided exactly what you needed at exactly the right moment? You have survived things you once believed would destroy you. You have overcome obstacles that once seemed impossible. You have already witnessed my faithfulness. So do not allow doubt to erase what experience has already taught you. My child, trust what I have done before. Trust what I am doing now. And trust what I will continue to do. The third thing you must release is bitterness. This may be the most difficult one of all, because some wounds cut deeply. Some betrayals leave scars. Some disappointments linger longer than expected. I know what happened hurt you. I know the pain was real. I know the memories still surface from time to time. But bitterness is a burden that grows heavier the longer you carry it. The people who hurt you may have left. The situation may be over. Yet bitterness keeps the pain alive. It keeps yesterday connected to today. It keeps old wounds influencing new opportunities. My child, I am not asking you to pretend nothing happened. I am not asking you to deny the hurt. I am asking you to release it into my hands. Because you cannot fully embrace what is ahead while clinging tightly to what is behind. Forgiveness is not about excusing wrong behavior. Forgiveness is about freeing your own heart. It is about making room for healing. It is about allowing peace to return. My beloved child, the version of you that entered the waiting season is not the same version that will leave it. You have grown. You have learned. You have become stronger than you realize. Now it is time to stop identifying with old pain. Stop defining yourself by old failures. Stop measuring your future by past disappointments. The enemy wants you looking backward. I am calling you forward. Forward into greater faith. Forward into greater peace. Forward into greater purpose. Forward into the season I have been preparing for you. Do not sabotage your miracle by carrying yesterday's fears into tomorrow's opportunities. Do not sabotage your breakthrough by feeding doubt when faith is required. Do not sabotage your healing by holding tightly to bitterness. Leave those things behind. Lay them down. Trust me with them, because where I am taking you, there is no room for fear. There is no room for doubt. There is no room for bitterness. There is only room for faith. And if you will trust me completely, what is ahead of you will be greater than anything you have left behind. In fact, what I am preparing may exceed every expectation you currently have. And in the next part, I am going to show you why what God is preparing for your future may be far bigger than you ever imagined. My child, after everything you have endured, after every season of waiting, every unanswered question, every tear shed in private, I want you to hear these words clearly. What I am preparing for you is greater than what you have been through. I know there were times when pain became so familiar that you struggled to imagine anything different. You became accustomed to waiting. You became accustomed to disappointment. You became accustomed to expecting less in order to protect yourself from being hurt again. But I am calling you to lift your expectations. Not because of what you can do, not because of what others can do, but because of what I can do. My child, you have spent enough time looking at closed doors. Now I want you to begin looking for open ones. You have spent enough time focusing on what was lost. Now I want you to prepare for what is coming. Because I am a God of restoration. I am able to rebuild what was broken. I am able to heal what was wounded. I am able to restore what seemed lost forever. The story is not over. The final chapter has not been written. And what comes next may surprise you. There are opportunities ahead that you cannot yet see. There are blessings being prepared that you have not yet imagined. There are answers on their way that will make you realize I was working all along. One day you will look back and understand why certain doors had to close. One day you will understand why certain people had to leave. One day you will understand why the waiting was necessary. And when that day comes, you will see that I was never withholding good things from you. I was preparing better things for you. My beloved child, some of the greatest miracles begin quietly, not with loud announcements, not with dramatic signs, but with small shifts that gradually transform everything. A new opportunity, a new connection, a new sense of peace, a new direction. Pay attention to these moments. Do not overlook them because they seem small. What appears small today may become the doorway to something extraordinary tomorrow. I am opening paths where you once saw barriers. I am creating possibilities where you once saw limitations. I am bringing clarity where confusion once existed. And I am restoring hope where discouragement tried to take root. My child, I want you to stop speaking as if your future is already decided by your past. Your past does not have the final word. Your failures do not have the final word. Your disappointments do not have the final word. I do. And my plans for you are not finished. The enemy tried to convince you that your story was shrinking. But I tell you the truth. Your story is expanding. The enemy tried to convince you that your best days were behind you, but your best days are still ahead. The enemy tried to convince you that you had missed your opportunity, but I am able to create opportunities that did not previously exist. Nothing is impossible for me. No situation is beyond my reach. No delay is beyond my ability to redeem. No mistake is beyond my ability to transform into something meaningful. My child, expect favor. Expect healing. Expect restoration. Expect new beginnings. Not because life will suddenly become perfect, but because I am actively working within your circumstances. Even now, right now, at this very moment, things are moving, doors are opening, hearts are changing, paths are being prepared. The season of survival is ending. The season of stepping forward is beginning. That does not mean every challenge will disappear overnight, but it does mean that hope is returning, strength is returning, vision is returning, and opportunities are returning. My beloved child, I want you to remember something as we move toward the end of this message. The breakthrough you have been praying for is not only about changing your circumstances, it is also about changing you. Because the greatest miracle is not merely what happens around you. It is who you become through the process. And now, after everything I have shown you, there is one final decision that only you can make. You can continue looking backward at what was, or you can step forward into what I am preparing. And in this final moment, I want to invite you to choose faith over fear and say yes to the new season that is waiting for you. My child, after everything you have heard today, I want you to remember one simple truth. You are not the same person who began this journey. The waiting changed you. The battles strengthened you. The struggles taught you lessons that comfort never could. And now you stand at a crossroads. One path leads back to fear, doubt, and the habits of the old season. The other path leads forward into trust, faith, and the future I have been preparing for you. The choice is yours. You can continue replaying old disappointments, or you can begin expecting new possibilities. You can continue focusing on closed doors, or you can prepare for the ones I am opening. You can continue carrying the weight of yesterday, or you can place it in my hands and move forward. My child, I am calling you forward. Forward into greater peace, forward into deeper faith, forward into renewed hope, forward into the next chapter of your story. Do not let fear make this decision for you. Do not let past pain speak louder than my promises. Do not let temporary circumstances convince you that nothing is changing. Something is changing. The season is shifting. The preparation is ending. And the seeds planted through tears are beginning to grow. So today, choose faith. Choose trust. Choose to believe that I am still working, still leading, and still making a way. Because the story I am writing in your life is not finished. In many ways, it is only just beginning. Before you leave, my child, I want to invite you to take one small step of faith. If this message spoke to your heart today, type, Amen. I trust God's timing. Let that be your declaration. Let it be a reminder that your waiting was not wasted. Your tears were not ignored, and your future is still in God's hands. And if you are ready to step into this new season with faith, write, I am ready, Lord. I would love to read your declaration in the comments. Also, if this message encouraged you, share it with someone who may be struggling through a season of waiting, disappointment, or uncertainty. One message can bring hope to a heart that desperately needs it today. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss future messages of faith, encouragement, and hope. Remember this, my child. God is still working. God is still preparing. And your breakthrough may be closer than you think. Until next time, stay strong, keep believing, and keep trusting God.